So I don't know. Deja, are you able to join as co-host? There we go. All right. Are you ready to take over for a few minutes? You can probably start the interview, do the first two questions, and then I should be home by then, if that works for you. Adija, do you have mic access? And Jennifer is here, so I'm going to give her co-host access.
Hi, Ruth. Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hi.
So thank you. Yeah, it's okay. Take your time, and I'll handle the situation. It's okay. Take your time.
I don't know.
And hi, everyone.
A question, is everyone else, is Twitter behave right now? Because I had a little bit of trouble getting in.
You're in. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It goes in and out today. I'm going to be honest with you. It goes in and out.
Yeah, because you were hosting a room earlier.
Yeah, it goes in and out. 1 minute you can hear everybody, and next minute you can't hear nothing.
Yeah, I still show myself as a listener.
Oh, okay. We have Tonya and Jennifer with us. Okay, so hi, guys. How are you doing?
Hi.
Okay,
she
we are
dropped
gonna
down to listener.
Yeah,
she dropped down. Yeah, they're Twitter. I think it's in the middle of updating a lot of different things, because anytime we get an update, things just fall apart. So, but we all been on Twitter Spaces for a while, so we're used to this. I'm also recording myself and also live streaming.
Is it your first time or?
Oh no, I do this all the time. I've been live streaming since 2010. I'm just like,
wow.
Jennifer is ahead, she's way ahead of me when it comes to tech, and because she's been doing podcasts for a long time. But I'm more of a live streamer. I just never. Once I'm done with a live stream, I'm done. But I'm forcing myself now more than ever to, edit instead of just, because I got thousands and thousands of files of just raw footage sitting all over the internet on all my different interviews. So it's interesting how, because of the pandemic and everything. So I got into learning how a little bit more how to edit my own content about faster. But overall, I record everything I do. I don't know what it is. It's just I record, I distribute, I curate. I literally just sit around all day long, do this. It's part of my, I don't know. I think it's either I'm OCD or I just have issues, but I've been doing this for so long. I can't imagine not sharing things that I'm doing in my life.
Well, something that occurs to me is that
wow, impressive.
Is that if we're not.
So your podcast is about what?
Jennifer, did you have something to say? Jennifer, you made it back.
Oh,
right when we said the word podcast.
Yeah, right. Well, so in response to what you said, Tonya, I think if you think about how we do what we do, many of us who are content creators and shiny object chasers and early adopters and bleeding edge type folks, our exploration and our use of these platforms in a way is the way that we market ourselves, because I don't run ads. I don't buy billboards. I don't do any of those things that you would typically do in order for folks to know who you are and what services or products that you have to offer. But the very act of us being out in the space and doing the things that we do, in essence, is our marketing. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like if I Google myself, but I Google myself in video, I got pages and pages and pages and pages and pages, and to me, that is so worth more money than me putting in a billboard. Like the billboard company have to give me money for me to put my face on their billboard. That's how I feel with all the content I've created because of digital media. And also with digital media, Jennifer, you know this. When we're early in the game, just like we all were very early in Twitter Spaces, sometimes when we started out so much earlier than other people. So when we do a project or anything we do in our industry, as we move and we grow, we tend to stay focused, to be motivated all the time. For me personally, I need to find new stuff. I have to be out and look and discover new things, or I'll get bored. And I think when the pandemic happened, and I had a commitment to myself that I'm going to work on my stuff instead of working on other people's stuff. And so I worked on my stuff and discovered social audio. And I feel with that social audio, listening to people's voices, connecting, 2021 was an incredible year for me. I sat and listened, met so many people I literally grew like 6,000 followers. Like I follow about in like less than a year that I actually talked to. I actually talked to these people and they follow me or they heard me talk. So, I mean, how more connected can you get in that sense, especially, in today with what's going on. So that's why I'm excited about this conversation today, building community on Twitter, because I feel communities have been built. There's so many communities. Like I try to explain this to people. There's not just one community. There's a community in every, like I'm part of cybersecurity community. I got into Web 3.1 community. Jennifer's part of that. She got me all excited about blockchain. So I sit in blockchain spaces. So that's another community, the NFT community, the music NFT community. I'm part of the film NFT community. So these communities don't happen overnight. They're built, and it takes one person. It doesn't take like, you if there's two of you, you're community. Okay. It might be you, and then you might be talking to Alexa or something, but you're like creating and you're building. That's your community, and your community, it just takes a step to build it. So I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to build any community yet because there's only two of us. And it's like, you do need two people to start a community. So that's why I'm excited about this topic, because I feel like Twitter is such an incredible platform. And that we built such a wonderful relationship, even when the pandemic is slowing down, where I feel that the whole content creation and hybrid events and everything that we're doing today, we can do this, live this life, because really social audio is a tool. Twitter is a utility. And so if we look at it that way, and then the people that we meet is just like having a digital office in Twitter, and you just meet people coming through. Just like myself, I'm actually an ad agency. I come up with ideas and plans, but I use Twitter as my ears. I listen to people, I listen to what they're talking about, and I create based on these conversations. So when we talk about Twitter building communities within communities, that's the topic that I love talking about, because if we sit in this space right now, I know there's a lot of NFT artists. I know a lot of, there's a Dr. M. I mean, we have different people. I mean, when I think about podcasting and blockchain, I think of Jennifer. So these are the conversations we have, because everyone has a little niche, a little community, but we can build a lot together.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We can build a lot together. And also, I like your insight when you said if it's just two of you, you can create a community. So let's start, guys, now. And first, I'm gonna interview Tonya, and then after that, for 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. After that, we're gonna open to Q&A, and me and Jennifer and I then going to handle the Q&A. Okay, let's start. Are you ready, Tonya?
Yeah, I'm usually I'm usually one asking question, but I'm gonna I feel better now. Because you guys let me go on a nervousness rant about Twitter. But yes, I am all ready. And it's
okay.
Yes, I'm perfect right now.
And we are so excited to listen to you. Okay, tell us about your work previous to Twitter Spaces.
Oh, I've always had a communication company, and so I started out in 2006, and my communication company, when I started it, no one really understood there's actually a position called communication in companies. No one did. I really didn't. People couldn't understand that. Wow, there's actually they've heard of PR people, but they've never heard of communication director. And I think back then there wasn't that much of a need, or they never thought that communication is an important position for a corporation. So when I decided to do this, a lot of people question, because I come mostly from, I'm a salesman. I market. I'm obsessed about learning things about different things, but overall, I never thought I too. I mean, like, you got to realize I didn't go to school to become a communication specialist. I just stumbled into it because I just started. I stopped being afraid of the internet and started learning how to use a computer. And I think once you start learning how to use computer and understand the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I got into communication, and I got a client to give me a retainer that was able to give me the ability to go to a lot of different networking events, which my company was founded in 2006. I started going to a women communication event in 2007 because they really had some really fun, cool events. And I want to be the president. So I became the president of Women in Communication. And the coolest thing about being a president of Women in Communication, and at the time, I think I was very egotistic about what I wanted to become and where I see myself. And at the time, I've never written a press release. I didn't even know anything about website. I didn't know anything about design work. You have to realize I didn't know nothing. And the fact that I can prove that I can create a lot of donation money for a nonprofit event that we were doing, end up becoming the president of this group, and everyone left. So for me to learn the hard way, meaning I sat up all night. I had to learn how to write a press release. Thank God there was Google. I studied that, and I discovered social media press release. That was so much more fun than the dry, who, what, when, where, what, and how. So I discover a whole new world in communication, but not in the communication where the old school PR, pitching to the newspaper. I discovered social media press release, being a social media publicist. And at the time, people couldn't believe that people would pay me to become their social media publicist, because people didn't believe that one day we have to throw away our phone book because it's never going to be delivered to us again. And we're going to use our phone to find what we need, and we're going to live off an app. So those are the visions I had. So before Twitter, I was very submerged into technology and social media. I was like obsessed with discovering ways to help nonprofit. I didn't have a nonprofit. My company's called No Aging. So I made money on retainers for doctors or services that want to get into longevity. To learn all these different skills and what's going to help come next, I had to apply all these different things that I went to. I sat in seminars, went to Meetup. I literally showed up at every single tech event. I got press passes. I mean, I reported on everything because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be part of the community. I wanted to understand. I wanted to help people. So before Twitter, before I did everything what I'm doing today, I was discovering, Web 2 like it was. You do not understand how exciting it was for me in 2008 when I was like all in with Facebook and like I had clients, like everybody wanted to get into Facebook. They didn't care how much my retainer was. They were paying for it because no one was that. And we built a community in social media. South Florida. Oh my God, we ended up teaching each other. So people, just like in Web3 right now, that excitement I feel today is how I felt when I got into social media, Web2. And Jennifer knows what I'm talking about. So back then we thought we can do everything. And that's how it is today in Web3. Because in Web2, I think somewhere along the line we got sidetracked in social media. But Web3, I feel that's going, with knock on wood, with the right different smart contract and different things we're doing, and right education and being able to help others and not take advantage of them. I think that's the key also with community. So yeah, before Twitter Spaces, I was already into social media. I was just onto another platform, really, Facebook. And then it changed for me for Facebook. So now I'm all about Twitter. I've been on Twitter since 2008. Twitter to me was a place I just dump all my links, my stories, because I'm more like the digital librarian. I love to curate information. So if you had like a good blog, you reach out to me because I already have everything set up already. I had my Pinterest, I had my Reddit, I had like Dig, I had everything set up so that I can share your content so fast before you even know what happened. So I did all that, but that's what Twitter was for me, just dumping content that I feel, and I having lists and giving the niche to the people. But that's what I did before Twitter. I'm sorry I went on a long-winded talk about Twitter, but Twitter, I just like, I sat on Twitter, but I wasn't on Twitter, like I am today. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally makes sense. And you have just one account on Twitter, or did you have like multiple accounts on Twitter?
Oh, I have a lot of accounts. I manage a lot of accounts too. I have accounts. I have an account for my church that I volunteered. We're a longevity church. We're actually a transhumanist church. It's called Perpetual Life. I manage that. I'm in the process of setting up. I've been trying to set it up before the pandemic. It's called Hemp Camp. So it's more like an unconference, 1-day education about anything you can think about hemp. Because I get press passes to go to a lot of cannabis event, and hemp. I'm obsessed with hemp. I don't really talk much about the THC aspect of it because I'm looking more as hemp as an educational aspect. So I have that going on, but I'm also the president of Women Communication South Florida, our account. We've been on Twitter. We were like literally one of the first Women in Communication chapter that got on social media. So we've been on Twitter. And then I have my Social Chats SF, which is my internet. It started out as a 1340 WPBR AM station. I was a talk radio. I was the Asian Howard Stern. That's when somebody explained to me what I reminded them of when I was on the radio, because I was just so anti-phone book. I went on this whole rant. That's how I became famous, was just that girl that hated analog. I was all about digital. So I got that, and my clients, all my clients, I always make them all get a Twitter account. I force them all to sit and listen to me on how to use Twitter. They hate it, but once I connect everything, I explain it to them. And now with
Okay,
Twitter
Tonya,
Spaces,
your
it's helped me a lot.
voice is just keep cutting.
Is it breaking
I
off?
don't know. Is it just me?
I can hear you just fine, Tonya. But again, Twitter's being buggy. So
Yeah, it's the co-host position that's having problem.
Yeah. Okay, you're
So no, I just got sidetracked with Twitter Spaces because I always force my
Jennifer. Do
literally
you hear
force all
her
my clients.
clearly?
Yeah,
yeah, I hear her very clearly.
it's the co-host. I
Yeah.
had the same problem earlier.
Yeah, Twitter's being buggy. So
Sorry.
I guess I
It's,
can take over from
just me.
here if you
Okay, sorry.
want. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. When
she
did you
can't hear me either.
start using Twitter Spaces, Tonya? And what do you enjoy about it?
The first time I started noticing Twitter Spaces was in February of last year. And I got invited to Clubhouse, and I had a really bad experience on Clubhouse. So that kind of turned me off, even though I dumped my whole phone book on Clubhouse just to get into Clubhouse to see what it looked like at the time. But I sat in, and I had, been on Twitter, but I usually hang out with a lot of social media people. So I'm not an influencer, but my friends are influencers. So they were kind of like telling me a bit about it. They say they're not sure. And one of them turned it on her audio, and it was just her and then me trying to get my microphone. We couldn't barely hear each other. We're DMing each other. And I think in March is when I started really embracing, because I was like, why am I getting nervous? I used to sit around and talk to random people all the time on a Facebook Live. Why am I getting so nervous? I mean, but Twitter would make me like so nervous because I think I had a bad experience in a social audio, even though I did social audio in 2010. But the moment, I started co-hosting for people. That's the thing. That let's say instead of me hosting right away, I would jump in and co-host it for people and shared and just. I always believe when you hop in like this, you tell people what you need, but you should also tell people what you're offering, how you can help them. And sometimes I think I come across a little bit too helpful on some people. It scares them, but overall, I just start becoming really comfortable running the board because I'm a live streamer already, and so I'm obsessed with audio. And no, I got upset like in March of last year, and I just sit. I have a problem with Twitter Space. I literally have to force myself to say I'm only streaming on Sunday and Wednesday. And then that's why it was perfect today, by the way. And then Monday morning is my women communication I'm committed to. So, but most of the time I try not to do any more because in the past I was literally like, I would sit on space for 6 hours, my own space. I moved my whole house using Twitter Spaces. I met so many people from all over the world in the NFT world. I think moving my house in June to August of last year, it was incredible because I just opened up a space and we didn't talk about how to make money in NFT. We talked about food, alcohol, where they're from, what part of the world they're from. And, it just, those type of simple conversation. And then along the way, I was just like, I can see myself making some really good content, writing some incredible blog and helping a lot of people, but also be able to show this to my clients who want to know what's next, because there are clients out there that don't, I don't believe in running my clients' money up. I believe in like to be as organic as possible. So the more you pay for certain things, it doesn't seem right. But if you do it in a certain way, you can. But people don't click a button unless there's something in it for them. And so the psychology behind the whole social media and the Twitter spaces, I really fell in love with it. And I talk about this. I stream it everywhere. I share it to all my friends. I don't look at the space as saying, oh, I only have 2 people in here, which I've had. But then on my replay, because I shared it all out, I tell people don't look at the numbers at what you have now, because it's like your studio audience. Look at how you dissect the information, cut it up in little snippets, and how you spread out the information, and the people will show up, because people don't want to listen for a whole hour. Like for this space, I would definitely cut all this up and, and write stories around it, because I feel like we're sitting on a gold mine and we're not utilizing, and it's disappearing in 30 days. And we're not going to try to like take our content and put it somewhere else. So like our website, like YouTube, our website, or some other places, so you can embed your content. If Twitter had a way where you can just embed your space into your website, I would freaking love it, because in this way it's always be there, right? Because I still can go back 10 years ago to my Facebook Live. So I feel like now with all this amount of content and all the different things you have going on, you can do anything on Twitter Spaces, anything. I mean, I hope that helps.
Great. Thanks, Tonya. Well, I made it back home, so I'm going to jump back in here. So you've talked a little bit about why you use Twitter Spaces. How has Twitter Spaces helped you as you are doing social media and PR?
So I'm using Twitter Spaces as my press room. When I do I'm getting ready to gear up to do a whole bunch of press stuff for some clients. So we're gonna use Twitter Spaces where we're gonna host a space where it's kind of like a press conversation when you invite the media and they come and they ask questions, and they love that kind of stuff too. And so Women Communication will start hosting some how to pitch. But with Twitter Spaces, I have met so many incredible people. I became a music NFT promoter. I love music. I play incredible music off my Tascam. So I'm pitching myself as a DJ for virtual events. I throw virtual event. I hire the DJs, right? But I really enjoy playing the music, talking to these artists. I'm not looking at these artists as a way of like, oh, I can make money off these artists as being their publicist. I'm looking at these artists like, my God, these people are incredible. Let me go ahead and curate their content, curate who they are, and then have it sitting on my website, because you never know how famous these people are going to be. But I'm giving real good content. I don't have ads on my website. I'm not trying to sell anything, because I get paid in a different way. I see value in other ways. So to me, Twitter Spaces is what I use to promote my clients, bring my friends on here, create tons of content. And you know what I love about Twitter Spaces? I'm not spending money on these fake pictures, people pretending like they're having fun. I'd rather sit down and ask the people if they're having fun, and then people can listen to it. It's like less than 2 to 5 minutes. So that's what I love about Twitter Spaces.
Yes, I love Twitter Spaces too. What suggestions, you've done a lot of hosting yourself, so what suggestions do you have for someone who's just jumping into hosting or learning to host?
Ask a lot of help. Ask for help. I think you should find, if you sit in a space and someone's giving some really good things. I mean, like Samantha says, Samantha Postman, Jennifer gives some incredible tips too. When you find people that are giving you some incredible gems, ask them and give them a compliment, or just say, hey, I appreciate you saying this. Reach out to them. And even Samantha, she did an incredible job on AWC, my nationals Twitter space. And she says, she privately DMs the speakers, the people that she hears them talk. So I think as a newbie, you should always, try to connect with the speakers. And take that one from Samantha, but also ask for help. I think a lot of time we come onto space, we don't want to show that we're, we have 1 million followers on Instagram, but there's only like 25 people here. And, we're big in Clubhouse, but we're not here. But we don't want people to know that, because, and I think that, with Twitter Spaces, you can be so raw and real that you can just say, hey, do you mind helping? I have people DMing me all the time, and I was like, okay, let me do this for you. Okay, let me do this. And I don't mind, because I feel like their success is my success. So I think newbies, if you're new, if you don't understand, ask for help. Ask for help. It's the easiest, and you know what? That's the easiest thing to say, but no one does it really. They do, like, once, like, if somebody actually go, hey, do you need help? But somebody doesn't go, hey, I really need help on how to figure this out. Does anyone know how to do it? And it's when I hear someone does it, ask for that, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my God, let's talk to this person. Let's help this person. Let's show how we can do this together as a community. And that gets the excitement too. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thanks. We actually have had people in our community ask for help while we are running our show. So I'm glad that they feel comfortable to do that. And yes, do ask for help if you want to learn how to do something. You've shared a lot with us, Tonya. Is there anything else that you want to share before we jump to Q&A?
If you know any good musicians that want to get into a music NFT, have them reach out to me. I'm doing this whole like so grassroots organic. There's not no token. I'm not just trying to make this into a blockchain. I'm just gonna have fun and play some music on a Friday. I told myself I'm only streaming Sunday, all day Sunday, Monday, and then Monday morning only, and then Wednesday. But last Friday of every month, I'm looking for some musicians to let me that feel comfortable enough so that I can make promo video for them and promote them. And again, I'm not trying to get clients. I enjoy making music with these people. I enjoy like watching them get excited about their content and about what they're doing and where they're at. And some of them are so down on themselves because they work so hard, and it's like it just seemed not clicking for them. But just to have someone to come along and say, hey, come on, let's play some music. Let's jam. Like if anyone knows anyone that's a musician, have them DM me, have them follow me, and I'll follow them right back. And that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
That's great. I taught piano for 30 years, so that sounds
Oh,
like
I can live stream you. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, isn't it neat how we make connections on Twitter Spaces that we never knew, information we never knew, and we find out. All right. This is so much fun. I love that we have so much experience in this room today. I'm going to hand off to Jennifer, and she's going to start off the Q&A. So if you have a question for Tonya or something that you'd like to contribute to the discussion, please jump in. Put your hand up, and we would love to have you participate in the discussion. So Jennifer, go ahead. I'm not sure if Claudia has something to add to the discussion or not, but you can find out,
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely. So I will say this in listening to you talk, Tanya, and I've heard you in a lot of spaces, and you and I have had one-on-ones discussions. And you said you're not an influencer, but I always think of you as an influencer to influencers or of influencers because of the deep impact that you have, this ripple effect that you have in the things that you do, this learn, share, grow, this ability to kind of show folks what you're doing and then show them how they can do what you're doing and then watch them fly, watch them leave the nest and fly. And so I really have always appreciated that about you. In that way, I feel like you're very successful in creating communities. And I know the topic here is how to build global communities. When we talk about something like Twitter Spaces, we're looking at the ability to connect not only with those of us that are around us, not only those of us that the algorithm thinks we should know, but really with Twitter Spaces, it seems like the entire world has opened up for us to really connect within a meaningful way. And I'm curious on the global aspect of what of the things that you do, some of your, if you could share a story or two of what that community building has been for you in an unexpected way globally because of Twitter Spaces.
So if you told me this time last year that I would globally put together a team of incredible musicians to create a very welcoming music NFT where, we're building something. It's not just about me. It's about a whole community that believe in the blockchain, the music NFT, and the Web3, but also and want to learn more about social media and how to get their brand out there. So I think about Live Aid. I actually had this whole thing. I think about Live Aid, how all these people got together and they played music and they raised so much money and awareness. So because of Twitter Spaces, I have a friend, Fernando. He's known as Chaos. He's in Switzerland. I have Alton's in Germany. I have another friend, Rivers Like Venus, who's in Miami. I didn't even know that. I have Gino, who is also a musician who I do a virtual film festival with. So we're putting something together, and we're going to do Twitter Spaces once a month. And eventually, we'd like to have it hybrid. We actually had a thing with Beam today. Beam is an app for movies, right? And I was like, couldn't I just do something with like a concert or something with these artists? And then raise money and donate to, let's say, the Ukraine war or to some homeless project. But those are the things that I never thought that I was able to do and accomplish. But because of Twitter Spaces, because playing music, sitting and learning and having connection like yourself, Jennifer, and Ruth, and all the wonderful people, Samantha, Dr. M, and when you have these kind of connection and you learn from each other, I mean, what can go wrong, right? Except synergy. So with synergy in mind, that's one story I want to share with you. I'm going to launch May of 2022. It's the last Friday of the month. And again, we're not here to like sit here and make tokens and coins. I'm just here just to play some good music, empower some people, promote them. I'm even building a website because it's part of my main website, and I already have the content. I already have the tools already. So yeah, that's what Twitter Space is giving me. Another out. I'm gonna produce music, and more than what I thought I could ever. I would never once thought I'm gonna be doing this. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
It opened up opportunities you didn't even know were there for you. I love that. That's fantastic. So, Claudia, do you have a question for Tanya? And anyone else, if you'd like to raise your hand and jump up on stage, I promise we don't bite. And Tanya's just such a wealth of information. I mean, I don't think I've ever asked her a question or mentioned something that she wasn't either already involved in or knew folks that were involved in. So she's just this really great wealth of knowledge, and she's a fabulous person.
Here comes Brent. Hey, Brent.
Hey, I just want to say that it wouldn't if it wasn't for Twitter Spaces, I wouldn't be able to follow Tanya's journey, and she wouldn't be able to follow my multimedia journey that I am now having a press pass with a big news organization in Canada.
And I'm also building a website for Brent. But he changed it though. You're a multi-skilled storyteller, according to the logo I created for you. So I've been his co-host. So I've been streaming it. I made a YouTube. So we just finished building the framework. Now we're gonna just upload all his old spaces that I have been recording and sharing it out. And now with this,
and I support Tonya by going to her church in return for co-hosting for me.
He does. We're good friends. We share each other's thoughts, and we get on the phone and talk to each other. And he asks me things, and I tell him things. And when I'm busy, I tell him I'm really busy right now. But those are the kind of relationships that I became, personal, close friends with. And I would never meet someone. I would never meet Brent. Brent's from Canada. Most of my friends. I have some Canadian friends that I met in Boca when they were like 18 years old, 12 years ago. But I've never would meet, Brent, and because I like learned so much about what he does, and I share it with him how much what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's what Twitter Space is giving.
We're now waiting to do a meetup in person.
That's fantastic. I know these virtual connections that become real world connections, and sometimes you may never meet in person, but the relationships that we develop are as real and sometimes even more real than the folks that we know, in IRL, as they say. So, Claudia, do you have any questions for Tanya?
No, not very much today because I'm on a much different topic on my way on Twitter Spaces. I'm just raising my second, more professional account, and I'm a teacher for customs and export items. So the bubble I have is much more technical, afraid. So I have to push them slowly into that. So the rest are just attending Twitter Spaces and finding out about a lot of other topics.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's an interesting thing because surely there's a community around what it is that you do, and it might be a small community, definitely a hyper niche community, but do you get together with other folks who do what you do for a living in the customs and freight?
it is still much on text because people are just growing into Twitter. And I did get a few audiences talking about customs topics, finding out what people want to know if they are working on it with inside companies, which is very important for me to know because I can change my teachings on that focus. But it's still a lot. About 50% I'm doing technical teachings, how to use Twitter Spaces exactly.
You know, Tonya, this reminds me of what you were saying when you referenced the fact that when you were first getting involved in social media and you were trying to kind of, it's almost like you're bringing your clients and your colleagues in, kicking and screaming into what you know is going to really be an impactful thing for them to do. It sounds very similar. You know, she's doing it now. Claudia's doing it now with the customs folks and freight folks, but you were doing that way back in the day. Any tips or words of wisdom?
If I would do a Twitter Spaces, because the most important thing is with Twitter Spaces, people can share what's going on with them in their lives. And so if you were to find the companies or the people that are in your industry and follow them and they follow back and DM them and invite them, because people love to talk about what they're doing, and especially different things that's happened, because what's happening in one country could be totally different in another country. And it's a great way to create content too, because in this way she can turn around and write a blog about it, something really simple. She can just record, download or screen record. But those are the little things that I was thinking of more, because I can imagine what the cost of shipping nowadays is and the laws, or especially what's happening. I want to host a space for her because I want to know.
Right? Be curious. Khadijah, you've got a question? Jump in.
Yeah. I have a general question to you guys. Do you feel like after Twitter Spaces, you spend most of your time on Twitter app instead of other apps, Instagram or any other app?
I live on Twitter. I live on Twitter. I used to live on Reel. I was obsessed with Reel, but no, I live on Twitter. My phone tells me, Siri tells me how bad I am. Not paying it. I don't even have Facebook on my phone, so I only I check my email but I spend most of my time creating and designing and stuff. But I'm on Twitter 24/7. Even if I'm not in a space, I'm listening and I research trending and I create content based around that. So yeah, so that's if I'm always on Twitter. So I don't know. I can't really answer that question because my app is always open.
I'm on Twitter a lot more than I am on other places. I did take Facebook off of my phone and Instagram off my phone, but there were client projects where I had to put them back on my phone. And I go over there, but I don't spend as much time as I do on Twitter myself. I've always been a Twitter fangirl from back in 2007. Spaces and communities and Twitter Blue and all that good stuff has really amped my attention, because that's what it is. It's attention. How much time do we have to give to anything? And a great place to build community is, in my opinion, Twitter. It doesn't mean that you can't build community on Facebook. You can. Groups are really great over there. Doesn't mean you can't do it on LinkedIn. You can. But for me, that instant, quick discussion that can happen dynamically, organically, surprisingly, is definitely on Twitter.
Absolutely, 100%. And what do you think, Ruth, about this?
Oh, I agree. If I had more time available, I would be on Twitter more. I've always enjoyed Twitter since I joined, and I realized how powerful it was when I did my work as a school board trustee. And then when I started writing and publishing, I have found my people on Twitter. So I definitely am a Twitter fan, and that's why I spend so much time on Twitter when I'm able to do that. I think Jerry has something he wants to add to the conversation.
Yeah, I find that everybody's very giving on Twitter. You ask a question out there and it's amazing how many answers you get back, and 99% of the time they're correct, and if they're not correct, they're trying to point you in the right direction, and that's invaluable. I have had so many opportunities since I started doing this, all sorts of stuff. I mean, I've been asked to co-host on a few things and stuff I would never have expected, Yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity, this, and actually specifically Spaces. I think Spaces is it's very charged with people who want to get their point across, and they want and politely, you know, they do it in such a way that we all kind of treat each other as friends, and that part of the community, I really, really like that.
I love it. And by the way, Jerry, we're so happy, so glad to have you every week with us here. So thank you. Thank you for joining us every week. And I see Olympic Ripped, or please tell us your name and jump in. I see your hand up.
Yeah. Thank you, Ruth, for hosting the space. My name is Olami Crypt Khadija. Actually, this is the second time I met, as in the second time I will see Ruth on a space, and the other time I really learned a lot of things. Seriously speaking, thanks for the recommendation. I really appreciate. Concerning my question for Tonya, actually, I hear some people saying like they don't have a Facebook, Instagram on their phones. I think if you have a clear purpose of using such applications, I think it can really, really help us in terms of our business and other things. Last year, one of my friends used to post same content on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but it's just a picture. I was not like, I now sat down this year that, okay, if I can use these tactics for my business, at least use the same advert I post on Twitter, I post it on Facebook, Instagram, on LinkedIn. So the same time. So, and the thing is really, really changing my business, like really changing my business. So it's just to have a clear purpose and to be consistent. So in building community, so people really watch your consistency. I think that's my point. Thank you very much.
Wow. So So wow, we're so happy, and we are so happy for you that it's helping you with your business and all this. So yeah, we're so glad and so happy for you. Next we have the Busy Spaces. Please go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the space. I see so many faces that I recognize, that I receive a lot from. There are so many amazing people on here that I'm already a fan of. And what I love about listening to what's being stated is I have a personal thing. I say, bring the door, find a space. That's become my new thing in Twitter Spaces, because we talk about whether doors open or close, and I see amazing opportunities being made available in spaces, in social audio. And what I love about the community here, and a lot of the space hosts here, that you all create community. You all have been creating community, and the ability to create human connection. I think there's been a shift since the pandemic, where human connection has the value placed on human connection. I feel like it's been amplified and elevated. And one thing about Twitter Spaces is that connection, that human connection seems to be a very, very big thing here. And so I celebrate everybody here, because again, I see so many recognizable faces. There's so many people that I've been learning about. I know you all notice that I typically just sit and listen. I don't typically come up on the stage, but I just had to just come up here and just tell everybody that I wanted to thank you all for, the encouraging content that you create, and the connections that you create for us all, that we can come into these and be embracing these virtual communities. Because this is an extension of real life for us all. And I really appreciate you all. And I've become a new fan of Tanya. This is my first time listening. And so yeah, it's, again, so many people on here. I love Jerry, you know, of course, the hosts, the leaders of this space, the coach and co-host Ruth, Khadija, you know, I love you guys. So yeah, I love a lot of people. I see Simon down there. So yeah, it's a lot of wonderful people in here that I recognize, I see on a consistent basis. And I just tell everybody, continue to create because we love what you all are doing, and we love the connections that we're able to experience through you all. And I'm done. I'm landing my plane here.
Wow. So thank you for your sweet words. Thank you, Bez. Thank you. And I see some similar faces here: Samantha, Dr. J, and Simon. So hi guys. Hi, Tanya. Do you have anything to add, Tanya and Jennifer?
No, I really don't. I just feel that there are going to be so many different communities, and if you're able to, and if you have something you're passionate about, you have a niche you want to really focus on, then see if Twitter allows you to create a community. Because I'm building mine right now, which is NFTs Culture Club, because I want to focus on that. So again, if you it only takes two if you're going to start a community. Like I start my community right now is very private, because I want to kind of like pick the people that I've been talking to and then let them bring their friends in. But I wanted the community to be about empowering and engaging and educating. So again, I feel that if you have a niche, no matter what you're into, if you have the ability to create a community, start now, because it only takes two people.
Let me lean into that a little bit, Tanya, because the thought sometimes of creating a community can feel very daunting, because there is this weight, this responsibility that we can feel. It doesn't have to be that way. You can feel kind of relaxed about it. I'll tell you, the very first time that I created a community back in 2005, it was the podcasting community. And I had my very first meeting and two people showed up. There was three of us. And I was like, this is amazing. And years later, we were holding big events in the city. So you've got to start somewhere. But sometimes the prospect of starting something, that weight, that feeling that of responsibility can be so daunting that folks don't want to start one, but yet they are missing that community aspect around something they're interested in. What I like to tell folks is that if you're not wanting to start a community, you can join a community, but not just join a community, become a thought leader or someone who is extremely active in the community to help the person who started it. So Tanya, you've got this community, new folks are coming in. If they want to help support you as the founder of that community, what are some of the things that community members can do to lift up the founder and to also grow that community so that it has that bigger reach and bigger impact?
I feel that the most important thing is show up, and also bring your friends along. I mean, it's part of I think as a community leader and someone who's trying to start a marketplace, a community, I call it a marketplace because that's what we're all here for. We want to be able to have somewhere that we're self-sufficient no matter where we're at. So if we can help each other in any little way, some sort of kindness or just any gesture, or even just commenting on someone's tweets or anything like that. But when it comes to a community, I feel like to help your community, first thing you need to do is show up. Second thing you need to do is bring your friends with you. And the third thing is offer, get involved, engaged. Because I think, people, you can be part of something and you think you're engaged, but you're not, because you're not talking to the people, or you're not answering, or you're not finding out more about them. So engage is the most important part. And then when I talk about education, it's not about me teaching, it's me finding people who want to educate. So I put out a tweet asking people, and I'm already in PR and social media already, but I have my people already. But I like to know, there might be a jewel somewhere that I did not know, and because they're friends with someone else and I did not know. And then if I meet this person and I see they're perfect, then I would invite them to speak at my other event. So again, I think what it is bring your friends, and also offer to help, offer different things, offer, because I think that's the thing. When you show it into a community, focus on how you can help and how can you provide service for that community. If you focus on that whole journey, the whole building and creating goes by so in a different way than it is to say, oh, I'm going to join this so I can get 3 new leads to get this 3 new things. But if you join the community and say, hey, I'm here to help 3 people to get 3 new leads, that community people that you help will turn around and help you down the road, because you never know. You never know. The person you help today could be the person that changed your life, right? So those are the things I think of. Thank you for
Well,
asking that.
well, you bring up a good point, though. In your answer, I heard another question. I'm like, oh, Tanya's just dropping these gold nuggets left and right. So when it comes to allowing other folks to shine within the community, right? Because it's not just, and as I'm speaking as someone who has started communities, as well as someone who is part of communities. So when I look at the ability to shine a spotlight on the members of the community who are, number one, as you said, showing up. Number two, as you said, engaging and being able to lift them up in a way, it just amplifies what the community is all about. And can you share an example? I know you do this all the time, but for folks in this room maybe who haven't heard of you, didn't know to know all the awesome stuff that you're doing, can you share an example of how you, as the leader of a community, were able to amplify and lift up and shine a spotlight on community members, and maybe what that ripple effect with is afterwards, or the results of that?
Oh, you can go on my website and look at all the different communities that I like. So I had one that his name was Adam, colorblind_Adam. Turns out that he was raising raising funds for longevity research. So I met him in the last NFT that he was doing. And because we did a space with him, I wrote a story, I cut it up in segments, I ran ads on it, I put it all over the place. And now his name is everywhere. And he gets work through LinkedIn and by teaching classes online about NFT. And he always say that's because of me, because I went and, and because we met randomly in a Twitter spaces, and I'm big into NFT, and so I did that for him. But it also helped me so that I could understand the process of creating a story around an NFT project. And so right now I think she's in here. The meaning is in here. I'm actually putting together. She was trying to publish stories about something about her new song that she's launching, a music NFT, and she's some parts of the proceeds to plant trees. So I did an NFT for a cause space with her. I cut up a whole bunch of snippets already. I got tons of audio for her. But she gave me this little short thing to publish on my press room. So I said, let me do a little bit more for you. Let me make you a social media press release, and I'll put it through the wire, and that'd be my gift for you. Because I feel like, her success would be my success. And, the timestamp will show, because at the end of the day, if I'm going to learn something, I might as well do it for other people and do it and use them as an example. So I can give you lots and lots of different stories of different people I've helped on Twitter spaces. But again, it's not about what is in it for me. I do it because I get excited to hear their voice. Even some of them I like the meaning. She and I haven't even talked on the phone yet. I'm like just making content for her. I'm doing it because I believe in her music. I believe in her, and I want to empower her. And what do I get out of it? Her success is my success. Does that help? I have more stories, but I didn't want to overwhelm people with more stories.
No, that's great, Tonya. Apparently, Jennifer can't hear you right now. Hadija, you have something to add to the conversation?
Yeah, I have a question for Tonya. Tonya, you spoke about engaging with people and contributing to the space, or just speaking and engaging with them. So my question to you, for people who are like moody type of people, and they run their spaces, so how do you balance these two things when you are not in the mood, and but you have space to run? Because I feel personally I have this fear, what if I wasn't want to, but I have to? So how do you deal with this fear, and what do you do in this situation?
If I don't want to do it, I stop doing it. So I don't fear about that. I just don't I don't, like I said, I'm at a point in my life right now. I'm in my mid 50s. I don't have time to sit here and be fearful about stuff. I just get shit done. Excuse my French. I know we're recording this, but I have to have fun. I do that same thing with my clients. If I don't have fun with you, I'm firing you. I don't care if you're giving me a whole bunch of money. If I'm not having fun, and it's causing stress for all, and I'm aging because of you, no, that's not happening. So I don't look at my spaces. I look at ways to connect, and also never know who might show up. And I've met so many different people. So again, and for businesses, I'm pushing spaces on all my clients. I want every single businesses, even from food. I can, like Jennifer and I talked about it. I want to have a foodie event. I don't need to show pictures of food. I can describe the food to people, and people can hear the chef talk about how they create the food and the process of creating the food. By the time I'm done, people hearing this, the sound, the audio, the noise, the food being made. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to go to the restaurant. So that's how I feel about social audio these days.
I'm in. Let's do it.
You're making me hungry, Tonya.
Oh, because of Jennifer, my hobby became this incredible pizza maker. Because of
I,
Jennifer.
I love it.
So, like I said, social audio, you can use any niche, anything you're doing, because the voice, the sound, the excitement, it will always be there. So if, when I'm tired, you can hear it in my voice when I'm tired. And I tell people I'm tired, but I don't know what it is with space. When you're tired and then you start hearing something really good and you hear the story and they're describing, they're telling you, and they're from another different world and you never thought you even know about, I don't know. I just wake up. I don't know what it is. It could be the technology I'm touching, but hearing the stories from people from all over the world, and it's like they're getting ready to go to bed and it's 2 o'clock and it's already, tomorrow for them, and then you hear these stories like Ruth, it's tomorrow for Ruth for us. And so, these are the things that you can never replace, the experience. And I understand that in real life is really, really important. That's why the balance is so key. I recently start forcing myself to go do in real life, and I'm having my board meeting tomorrow. I'm planning a whole in real life event, but I'm incorporating this Twitter Spaces to it because that's the component of me. Instead of me sitting on a phone calling all these different people in my organization, I'm going to have them all come to a Twitter Spaces. We feature someone. Jennifer, you were one of them. And, we do breathing exercise. We do different things because that's how we connect. So I don't look at Twitter Spaces as a thing that's going to take over my whole life. I look at it as a tool that's going to help me accomplish my goal and things that I'm going to do. And it's giving me a voice. I don't know about you guys, but I feel pretty powerful when you're able to talk to someone like Reggie on Twitter and you sit in a Twitter space and they give you the mic and you get to ask questions. My gosh, Facebook never does that for me. I don't know about anybody else. Pinterest definitely didn't. So again, Twitter, you can't really compare that. Even in Clubhouse didn't do that for me. So again, Twitter, I can join a Twitter Spaces, developer Twitter Spaces, Quinn's Twitter Spaces about Twitter bugs. Whatever the issue is, I have an issue, I'm able to grab a mic. They give me the mic. I go up there. They let me talk. And I ask questions and they give me the answer. How quick and simple is that?
I so much agree with you, Tonya. Twitter Spaces has been a totally different experience for me than anything else that I've ever done. And I've been on Facebook and Pinterest and Clubhouse and many other sites. So I totally agree. I have, so Tonya, you have so much expertise in social media and PR. What advice do you have to someone who maybe is more hesitant to get started on some of the platforms that we have available to us today? Where would they start if they have a business? What should their first step be?
I would focus on Google business page. I know Twitter's really important all because that's how you build content and creation and everything. But if you're a new business and you want to do something, you should try to grab that Google business page and really learn a little bit about what it does and what it can help you. That's one of the first thing I do I get them their Google business page. And then the other thing is, you get to all your social network, but you have to really look at your message and who's your client. I'm into longevity. Wednesday's a great day for me because Wednesday's the busiest day for any topic, but in health and wellness is the busiest day. So again, you have to, it's up to the new business owner. They have to look at this way, and you have to remind them it's not about selling, not by having an ad on a bus chair or sending out business cards all day long. You have to turn on the microphone and have a conversation and tell the people who you are, what you do. People only connect and buy or invest in people that they listen to. They heard in a space. They share their story, their struggle, their win, their triumph, their loss. But people buy from that. If you sit there and try to sell at them, no one's gonna do that. And I stopped creating beautiful, like my promo videos are totally different because it's like 9 second. But for information wise, I stopped doing that whole beautiful storytelling, video, because I'm spending money for my client that I didn't need to. So a lot of time I really didn't get return on investment. But now I'm like, hey, you want to do business? Before I even do business with them, I actually making them do Twitter Spaces with me. I don't know about you guys, but I interview my clients. I can't these are the people that you wake up to and they're calling you and bitching at you or whatever the hell they think that it's not social media is not doing for them. So, I make them go into Twitter Spaces. It makes them uncomfortable. They're scared. They're terrified. But if they don't do it, I don't do business with them, because in this way, why am I babysitting? I'm a full grown woman. I don't have time for this. So, and it works. People do it, and when they're done, they all like. And then the thing is, I don't sit there. I don't want to run their business. I want them to do their business. I'm a consultant. They hire me to tell them what to do. I don't want to, I'm like, here, let me show you how to do your social media, because if I create your social media, I own your content, because that's my content on my computer. But if I was to do a Twitter Spaces and I recorded this for you and it goes on your YouTube channel and you're able to use this in different size and different snippets for all your social network, it's yours, not mine. It's all yours. And that's more beneficial for them. So, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just charging my clients on the Twitter Spaces as an added bonus for social media management. But most of the money that I'm charging for is the content creation out of the social media space, Twitter Spaces. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a great start. But now you put another question in my mind, just like you did with Jennifer. So you talked about how you charge your clients for content based on Twitter Spaces. Could you share a little bit about what you do with the content?
So, I take an hour, depends on the client. So right now I have Dr. Kumar, who I'm working with, for disclosure, and I'm creating content for him, but he and I have, we're like partners in some different projects, dealing with longevity. So I make 30 minutes short health spaces for him. I'm building a website from my end, and I'm creating little snippets that match the stories, that the different services, and it's his own voice. It's not like me typing it all out, showing a picture of this and that. Today we talked about ED. We talked about the medication that could cause that for men. We talked about men's health. And these are the conversations most women would be like, oh my God, I can't believe you talk about this. But I'm talking to a doctor, an oncologist who's been around for 20 plus years. And this is the kind of part. So with my clients, I don't do one spaces. It's 90 days to a month, and one Twitter Spaces that's 60 minutes. So minimum, I would say 10 to 15 audio snippets from that 60 minutes times 5 or 6, depending on the social network they're in. And then I add that to the bookmarking aspect of it. I mean, that's a lot of content distributed out in a mass web. And that's the kind of stuff that they don't have, because I've been doing this for a while. So I already have all this stuff built in already. So my clients like it because it's organic. They're not running ads. They're not throwing, I look at ads and running ads on Facebook is like the funnel, like the opposite end of the funnel. It's not like it's not the fun of going in and just, no, it's actually you're throwing money and it's just going out. And then same thing with Google Ads. But if you are, just like, I'm like a turtle. I pace myself. It seems like it's some days I feel like, why, my God, this is going to take me forever to do whatever I talk about I'm doing, but I freaking love it. But the content itself, you're not, when the I've sat in space when there's only 2 people. I've sat in with a pharmacist. At first, he wasn't sure. He has this new book coming out, and he wasn't sure if it's going to be his market. But I was trying to explain to him it's really about me being the storyteller about his book, and then I'm going to cut it up to write the press release for your book. So instead of me just sitting here making stupid content that did not make sense, why not interview the author, cut it up, put it to a press release? And the reporters love it because they're not researching, they're not looking. They just click a button, they read, it goes down, it rolls down, click another button, they hear the audio, it's all done for them. Then they write whatever they feel like writing. But that's how I'm using Twitter Spaces. And that's how I feel a lot of people, if you're in communication, if you want to you're a business consultant and your job is to find ways to help people grow their business, start charging for your spaces that you're hosting for businesses. And I'm not talking about helping someone new trying to start out. That's totally different. I'm talking about someone calls on you and they want you to give them, do you know how many pitch and how many like proposal. People love proposal. I don't know what it is. They just take, I guess they don't kind of understand. Like my proposal is not meant for me to give you my business outline. My proposal is to explain to you the direction we're going to go and why we're going it. And then if you trust me, I need minimum first and last, just like an apartment rental. First, last is my security. And it has to be like the minimum is 6 months, but I'll do 90 days with a project. And that's like I can do one space a month. It depends on how many hours. I mean, like it varies. Like, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like the gold mine of Twitter Spaces and just taking a little time and learning how to cut up the snippets. That's why I'm excited about the other snippets and understanding the concept of embedding and creating storytelling. Any client would love this. If they're not doing it now, this is the thing that a lot of people are looking into. They just want real content.
I agree. People want that real content. And thanks for sharing some of your tips with us. We had Dr. J join with the mic and Simon. So Dr. J, go ahead and ask a question or share what you'd like to add to the discussion, and then we'll go to Simon.
Well, thank you, Ruth. Hi, everyone. Hi, Tonya, Jennifer. I see lots of people that I know. I'm loving the entire idea of building global communities, which is something that I definitely have been using Twitter Spaces on. But I wanted to share a story because so many of you know me and you know what it is that my mission is on Twitter. And Tonya, thank you for using ED as an example. If you don't know, she's talking about erectile dysfunction. Today is the first day in my life on Twitter that Twitter Spaces did not go as planned in community building. And I got messages from people all over the place that I had been shadow banned, and I had no one show up in my space today. And in that process, when you're dealing with sexuality, I think Tonya's making a spectacular point about what community really has to do with it. Each of you who've heard me speak before, you know that I'm coming from a science background, that I'm providing factual information about sexuality. And it's really scary to think your business would be limited by what occurred today. And the wildest part about today was that the discussion was going to be about the new Netflix documentary called The Principles of Pleasure, where we were dispelling myths about female sexuality, and the conversation never got to happen. So hopefully it will next week, and I hope that you will definitely consider the people who are doing their work with good hearts for the content, for your quality of life, are being shut down. And I hope that you will consider that in the process of who you follow and who you support. And thank you for being all of my friends today and hearing what occurred.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. I'm going to be honest with you, Doctor. I'm shadow banned too. So I have been dealing with this myself. And, like I said, you DM me and I will show up. And I think if you're feeling no one's showing up, just go ahead and call your community. We're all here. All your space hosts, we'll show up. We'll bring the people. We don't need the Twitter to tell us not to show up. We just, you just have to tell us. And the moment you do it, I'll set up the timer and everything and let the word out. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I haven't really said much about it, but that happened to me too. And one of my my NFT music concert, I'm trying to like raise awareness for all this music, NFT and all this stuff. I'm listed as a bot there. I don't know where. So now they won't let me tweet, do anything. So I'll figure it out. But we're here for you anytime. We'll show up. That's the one thing about community. We'll all show. And Dr. J, we freaking love you. You show up to all our events. So please let me know anytime there's a problem. We'll show up.
Thank you so much, Tonya. I appreciate it.
We are a DM away. All you have to do is DM us, because it's the challenge is, I think for us, is that in the very early days of Twitter Spaces, there were so few of us that it was very easy for us to galvanize around one another and support each other as we were learning how to do Twitter Spaces and get comfy with it. And then now that it's gotten to be so big and so successful, the challenge becomes that we're all getting busy in our lives because it is so successful. Tonya just shared how she's now doing this as part of the services and products that she offers her clients. Well, that means that when she's doing those, she's not as available when, maybe one of us is hosting a room. Same thing for me too. I try and jump in where I can, but I'm not as available as I used to be. However, if somebody DMs me, And I do have some folks that DM me and say, "Hey, I've got this space. Can you jump in for a few minutes?" I'm like, "Absolutely. As long as I'm available, I'm happy to do it. It isn't that I don't want to be there. I may not just see it because there's so much going on. So please, Dr. J, we're only a DM away and we love and support everything that you're doing. We're big fans and I am like Tanya, I cannot believe that happened to you. But you know what? You're going to overcome this. You're going to rise above it. And that talk that you were going to have is going to be even better because you had to overcome this hurdle."
Thank you, Jennifer. And again, I'm going to attempt it next Wednesday, noon Eastern Time, discussion of Netflix Principles of Pleasure.
I sat in my space and there's this app called Beam. I was going to mention them to you, but I'll send you the DM about it. I'd love for you to host something in there. And there's actually a whole ticketing section too of it too, but you can do a conversation about that. And it's video, audio, any way you want to, but you can do that there. And we always show up. And I feel that's, if you're being shadow banned in that sense and you feel like you want a more intimacy, you can do it that way. And then, have a conversation there. It's called Beam. It's app.beam. No, app.beam .xyz.
All right. Yes, we are sorry to hear what's going on, Dr. J. Thank you for letting us know today, and that way we can support and encourage one another. Simon, what would you like to add to the discussion? What question would you like to ask? Go ahead.
Hey Ruth, hey everybody. Tanya's talking about Beam a few times, and it reminded me of the app called Beam that Casey Neistat, the YouTuber, founded and then sold to CNN, and then they sort of discontinued it. So I'm interested to see another iteration of Beam. I'll check that out, Tanya. I wasn't aware of it. So thank you for sharing that. I just have a question really I want to throw out there, Ruth, if it's okay, around the future of spaces and the future of Twitter spaces, because it's only a few short months ago where, or maybe a little bit longer than that, but where we were all limited to Twitter, X amount of characters, a few emojis, a few hashtags, and that's all it was. And then all of a sudden we've been catapulted, haven't we, into this. We can all see each other's little profile picture. We can actually hear each other's voices. We can hear the inflection in the voices. There's been a lot of discussion about doors and storytelling and building community. And I'm just wondering what the thoughts are, if we'll all still be here in 4 or 5 years' time. I know it's a little bit of crystal ball gazing, but as somebody who's used Clubhouse extensively, as I know a lot of us here have, I've even used Green Room quite extensively. And, Twitter Spaces, of course, I know a lot of people here and I, join a lot of spaces. But I'm just wondering, people talk about the gateway to the metaverse, as in social audio might be just a gateway to the metaverse, whether the capabilities of the technology moves us more into an avatar-based community build in a number of short years. Because Tanya made an excellent point, which I did want to go back to, about the Twitter Spaces developers. You mentioned Reggie, for example, and that community is really listening hard. And I agree with your comment, Ruth. I haven't seen that in the other. I know we had town halls in Clubhouse, but I haven't seen it anywhere near the level of interest that Twitter development teams, a number of teams, not just Reggie and these guys, but a number of teams in Twitter are hosting these Q&As, and they're really interested in the user feedback. And I just can't help but think that's going to catapult the platform onto new elements, and whether the jump from where we are now is going to be as big as just moving from character limited tweets to audio. So I just want to throw that out there. I know it's a bit wide, but I know we've got some great people here who might have some views or thoughts on how that impacts our community building plans.
Tonya, do you have any thoughts?
Well, the metaverse is so like, I sit and we talk. It's like philosophy. Sometimes I sit in spaces and we talk about the whole metaverse and like all these kids and going there, and there's nobody checking it out. And I think of the Second Life, which is the original metaverse. How hot of a hot mess it is So I'm not sure of social audio bringing us further into the metaverse. And again, I could be wrong, but this is something I am obsessed about. I study this. I'm still waiting for the Google glasses to come out where the AR is going to happen, augmented reality. When you put the glasses on, you can feel all this. But it's not. Not all of us can afford Oculus. The small business owners can't afford it. I know CVS is getting into the metaverse. I know there was Fashion Week, and I report on all this stuff. But really, if you think about the mom and pops, unless they're very into crypto already, they're not going to go out and try to get into the metaverse. They'll turn around, download an app, and get on to a Twitter Spaces and talk about their business. But for them to to the next level and say, hey, we can go up after this market and that market. And you have to also look at the market too. I mean, millennial and Zoomers, mostly Zoomers would probably be a good market target. But for myself personally, I'm trying to build a metaverse for my church, which is I have to sit and explain to these people why I see this as the next big thing. And we're already a technology church, but they're not gonna listen to me because I say so. Until I really show some different case studies. People are not, they're just, it's metaverse is fun for the Zoomers and the people doing NFT, and they're creating there's another business opportunity that people could be creating different jobs, buying land and doing all kinds of stuff. But for the average consumer, I think we're not quite near that. We're too busy with our iPhone and looking down and trying to live off of Web 2. And you mentioned Web 3 to the average person, you stop them. I feel like stopping people and asking them. Nowadays, you can't do that. People run from you. But they won't even know what Web 3 is. People look at you like you're crazy. So again, I don't think that's happening any day soon. Social audio is easier to accept. I think social audio is going to explode this year. Twitter is exploding tremendously. I think it's a much easier way to get people into it. Maybe 4 or 5 years, I don't know. According to Ray Kurzweil, 2045, we reach singularity. We're supposed to be uploading all our stuff into the cloud. I mean, I think we're doing that today with Facebook and all the social network. But I don't see us getting to the metaverse as a business place. Maybe to a bigger brand, like Dolce & Gabbana, they want to be able to, have their exclusivity with the NFT, and so that it makes sense for people to spend all that money on, this bag that they're coming out with. It comes with an NFT, so it's just, again, it depends on the niche.
I think my own experience with the metaverse also goes back to Second Life. And I actually left my female character there years ago. I don't even know if she's still there. I probably should go check on her. But the modern version of this was where I finally got the aha moment for me was that I attended a Web3 conference that was a 2-day conference, and it was in the alt space VR. And I'd never done alt space VR. I had to create an account. I had to build my avatar. I had to go through the little tutorial to figure out how to navigate because I don't have an Oculus. I was going to use my computer, which I think is kind of nice. You don't have to have an Oculus or a device like that. You can just use your computer. But attending that 2-day conference for me was as close as I could get to being at a real conference with that same sort of excitement and energy because I sat in a stadium area, kind of like an intimate outdoor stadium area where the speakers got up on stage, they did their slides, we could clap, we could throw questions out. I could decide to go to an NFT art gallery and wander around. I could go to the common area and speak with people, which I did. And that kind of engagement was like, this is really cool. There was a dude from Scotland I was talking to. There was some guy from Pittsburgh I was talking to. It was a lot of fun. And I think that for me sold me into where the metaverse, the value of it is. But here's the kicker. I was excited about the alt space VR experience that I had, and I spoke to other people about, the metaverse. And someone's like, "Oh, I'm using," and they said some other name, and somebody else says, "Oh, I'm using," and they said some other name, and they're like, "You should come and join me over there." And so I was like, "Okay, I've got to go through this process again on these other platforms." And I think that because the metaverses don't connect, and because you're going to have to create all of these things in all of these places, is going to be an even bigger hurdle to get mass adoption. But will that be where we're going eventually? Sure. All you got to do is read the book Ready Player One or watch the movie, and you know that it's going there eventually. Now, is that tomorrow? No, no, not at all.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Tonya, for your insights. I'm kind of leaning towards we're one device release away from mass adoption. If you think about the Apple ecosystem as an example, if they nailed a wearable with their ecosystem, I think then we might see a big move. But Google Glasses, I had the first Google Glasses when it came out, and after wearing them for a month or so, it became very unfashionable and uncool to wear them. And I see the Ray-Ban partnership with Facebook, and that's kind of bubbling away on the side, but not doing anything significant. Snap themselves had a fantastic guerrilla marketing, as I'm sure we all know, when they launched their spectacles. But I just think it's going to take a player like an Apple or somebody to come out with a wearable that's got mass adoption. Like, none of us held our iPhones. We all had button phones and Nokia phones and lots of different devices. And then the iPhone came out and we all got catapulted forward. And I kind of think it's maybe a combination of device. And I don't discount what you said, Jennifer, because the multiple metaverses, I think, is a big challenge for people. The multiple devices. Tanya, you mentioned the cost as well of entering the metaverse. It's not accessible to everybody. But I think a closed ecosystem, now it doesn't have to be closed, it could be open, but an ecosystem as large, say, as Apple devices around the world, if they launched something that was as popular as, say, their AirPods, where all of a sudden we could all see each other virtually, I think that's a game changer. But we're not there yet, and I agree. And I really do appreciate the comments. It's great being in this space. I've taken up a lot of airtime, so I'm going to go back on mute. But thanks very much. Great to see everybody.
I think that the concentration on the big platforms is one mistake you could do, because I'm walking around very much in developer platforms. There's a little programmer in France who did a virtual world in 2-dimensional. It's Work Adventure, where we had some conferences in already. You have a 2D avatar you run around with, and if you drop into people, it opens up a video conference between this group who is in close contact. And there are several projects which are open platform for any device that can that is able to get you into internet. So I think just looking on metaverse and the big so-called walled gardens, you cannot get out, and they hinder you from getting inside or watching it from outside. It's not the best idea.
Yeah, agreed, Claudia. Thanks. I think there'll always be open source versions, or if you look at the Android infrastructure, for example, there's complexities there too, right, with different variants and different releases and different devices. But yeah, I don't think it will be one. I think there'll be a number, but it'll be interesting to see. But I take the point. It's very well made. Thank you.
Thanks for the interesting question, Simon. If only we could all see into the future, but that might be scary. We have Shadows Pub, and then Brian, you've joined us as well. So Shadows Pub, you have a question?
Sorry, I didn't actually know I joined you. I must have touched the button by mistake.
No worries. No question or comment for the room today?
I've been listening with interest in the metaverse discussion. Well, I've been listening to all of it with interest, but I'm especially interested about the metaverse stuff. So I thank people for talking about that.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us today. Brian, what do you have to add to the conversation?
Hey, Ruth, how are you today? I hope you're well. And I see my neighbor there, Jerry. I can see you from across the fence, Jerry. It's past bedtime. You should be in bed, Jerry. Come on. Ireland, my goodness. Yeah, the metaverse is quite an intriguing situation. I don't have it grasped just yet, and I'm so keen. I'm literally like a child with a new toy. I'm like, what is this thing? What the hell is this? What? So I'm really trying to absorb the information, and listening to some of the guys here, it really is mind blowing. And I think obviously with all good things and all the new innovation comes unbelievable opportunities, but also comes the risks and all this stuff. I think that's what's going to be telling in the near future. But I like what the outlook Simon has on some of this stuff, and it's quite really it's quite interesting. I really need to deepen my knowledge on this situation here and see how does it help with especially how do I position myself for success with it and be part of this thing, because I think early adoption is a key factor, although it has its own risks. But I think to be at the forefront of things is usually the best way, so that by the time everybody else jumps on board, you're further ahead. I've always found people who do that tend to have the best experiences, I think. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for the space, Ruth. I really appreciate the value you guys continue to bring. And yeah, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, support the coffee situation there. It's really really a good idea, and I love it. I love it. Thank you, Ruth. Jerry, we should get together sometime. I'll give you a shout when I'm going to Dublin.
Yeah, please do, Brian. Please.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, I just with what Simon brought up, I'm not sold on the metaverse. I love this. There's a certain anonymity with spaces. You could be sitting in bed listening to your spaces. You could be in your car listening to it as you're driving along and stuff like that. Your picture is shown. You can have that conversation. And I've had conversations with people who are driving around in different cities around the world, which I find absolutely fascinating, to be quite honest with you. But the idea of a VR set on my head, it's not really something I'm going to go as far as to do. I always open to new things, but I just, for the moment, I don't see it as a way of transgressing it forward. I think it would be a very small community in respect to that. I could be wrong, and I've been proved wrong before. But I would say that I think this VR headset, for the likes of myself, I'm of an age that I can't really see myself putting a headset on. It's not something I'd be doing very quickly. I have done it with different games when years ago and stuff like that, and played on PlayStations and stuff with VR sets and the Microsoft, the other one. I have played games on them and they've been quite fun, but I'm not sure that it's fully rounded yet. I really do think that this is very, very early adoption, even with spaces. I can't use it on that. I can't use it to talk on the computer. And I think those little bugs need to be fixed long before we start going into the avatar world. That's kind of just my thoughts on that, Simon.
Yes, I agree, Jerry. I would love to see some more improvements, which Twitter is working hard on. Tonya, do you have anything to add to the discussion before we move on to something else?
No, I feel that right now everyone just are trying to like survive, and they're trying to figure ways like they can cut the bottom line, because I focus more on small business owners. So to turn around and change your whole who you are, what you do, and to redo everything, takes a lot of money and learn. So to get into Web3, I think finding people like Jennifer here to help people and explain further what Web3 can do for them, instead of trying to push them to a metaverse. Metaverse is some it's this metaverse everywhere. But understand the blockchain, Web3, creating tokens. I mean, like the sky's the limit. So I explain to people, like, when it comes to tokens, I think of like when you go get Chinese food, you get this little, like, they click a card that gives you a credit for so next time when you fill out the whole card, you get a free meal or something. The same thing with the tokens and with the blockchain. And once you get people to understand, you get 1 or 2 restaurants to understand what they can do with that. It's a game changer. But getting to get people into that first before they can get into the metaverse, because that's not going to happen right away. Not in the average small business people.
I agree. I think right now, when we're looking at Web3, it's all about the 101, or even maybe the pre 101, to getting folks to understand the potential value, because we say the blockchain and we say Web3, but there's not a blockchain, there's lots of blockchains. And Web3 is just what we're using as a term to kind of talk about this peer to peer aspect of web versus web 2, where it's, big companies like, Facebook and Twitter and all these different other entities, and the peer to peer with the ownership and the reward system is an interesting facet. And that's something I'm hoping to explore a little bit more in the month of April with the Walk Talk Challenge, which is for women entrepreneurs and the women of Web3 to talk about their goals and challenges and how they're navigating these spaces. And it's a fascinating topic to me. And using Twitter Spaces to record and to host these and turn that into a podcast, because this will be the second year that I've done it. Last year it was just focused on women entrepreneurs. This year I'm adding women of Web3, and I'm fascinated by how folks are incorporating this, explaining it, because I think that's the biggest challenge. You were talking about this earlier, Tonya, trying to get your clients to understand the value of these new technologies, of these new ways of doing things, and trying to make it simplified so that they'll accept it, adopt it, and do it and let you do your magic. I think that educational piece is really the valuable part. And it's something that we're going to be doing for a while, because when we think about Web3 and blockchain and even the metaverse, the wave is, they talk about the waves. We're at the very tippy beginning point of the wave for this, folks. If you think that you're missing out, you're not missing out yet. It's still very, very early. And I'm curious, Tonya, when you future cast for yourself, and not just for you as a human being. And that's what I encourage folks to do right now. If you're interested in Web3 and metaverse and all this stuff, learn it as you, human being, individual person. And as you're learning it as you, human being, individual person, then also start thinking about, how will I incorporate this with my business? How will I explain this to clients? How will I get more mass adoption as more and more people get comfortable with this, as the technology gets more user friendly? And as there is, as Simon said, maybe a one technology or one platform or one something that makes it easy for all us to interact with one another. I'm curious how you approach that aspect of it as you're moving forward.
Well, with my clients, because a lot of them I've had them since I started my company. So back when I pitched the concept of having a Facebook page back then, they all didn't believe me. They kind of like, but then now here today. So I feel very confident to be able to get people on a Twitter Spaces to do different things, because it's very easy. That's a simple thing to do, like explain that part, and then having more conversation and education. And that's where I charge my clients for, because it's stuff that I researched, spend a lot of time for, and I'm doing it and it works for me. I want to work for them too, but I'm not going to go out and spend ads on stuff that I don't believe that's going to do anything for them. I'm just going to make them feel uncomfortable, like download Twitter and let's make a podcast. Because, I've listened to a lot of people tell me, oh, no, I'm too busy. But then they'll whine and complain about why they're spending so much on ads and so much on leads and nothing pays off. And I'm like, do people even know you? Do they even know who you are? All these ads. I mean, people only buy from people they trust. And if they don't trust you, you're not going to get that want. So again, for me is I already built that relationship already. I'm pretty picky, so I'm kind of blessed where I'm at, and I just it's the one thing I make them go in Twitter Spaces. That's the one thing. And so learning new technology, I don't want them to read a whole book. I just one thing simple: download this app, make sure you have an account, log on, update your app, and let's do this. That's it. And then I do everything else for them, so they don't have to worry about it. But once they do the first one, a lot of them, they don't want to get off the freaking microphone. So I think people love it. Once they get comfortable, they started like talking and sharing their passion and how they build a company and where they're at. I think that's when you can get all the different jewels and be able to cut up all these little stories that they share, how their mom did this or how they created their business out of the garage. Stories like that are jewels, and you can turn around and use that all across every platform. So that's how I hope that answers your question. I think I went on a whole tangent, but to get people to do something, you got to show them value, and it shouldn't take too much time, and it should be simple. And the first step is download the app.
Fantastic. Stephen, how are you, sir? Thank you for joining us. Got some questions for Tonya or some comments to add?
Hey, I just popped in. I was excited to see you here. Give me a minute to get my bearings about me, and yeah, maybe.
Awesome.
But if you really think about Twitter Spaces, just go down the list of every niche you can think of. Any businesses, from the air conditioning people to the plumber to anything you can think of. I mean, I live in South Florida. I wish my air conditioning companies would host some Twitter Spaces so I can learn different tips and ways to keep my AC running. You know, even if the government start doing stuff about even when we get into hurricane seasons, there's constant information. But it would be kind of cool. They start hosting Twitter Spaces, talking about it. Maybe use some of the snippets, share it out. I mean, those are the very simple stuff, but I see that happening. That it's gonna. What I'm kind of concerned about Twitter Spaces is when the election comes about. That's where we're gonna have a little. I mean, that's where I tell people, hang on to your friends, because I mean, that is we literally have an open forum for anybody to start talking what they want to talk, as long as they're safe and kind and courteous. I think it's fantastic. But if you look at every niche there is, from a mayor to do an open like conversation to his people, or even like having like anything. I one day sat around and think of all the different niche that can use Twitter Spaces. I don't know. I can't find one that can't.
It's true. It's a tool. And if you have a business, or if you have a message, even if you're not in business, if you have a message to get out, Twitter Spaces is a great tool to use. Jennifer, tell us more about your project in April.
Thanks. The Walk Talk Challenge is something that I created last year after, pandemic. I was like, gosh, I've been doing a whole heck of a lot of sitting and not a whole heck of a lot of moving. And I love talking to women entrepreneurs. And I thought, why don't I? And Spaces and Clubhouse were kind of becoming a thing at this time last year. And I thought, let's push the envelope. Can I record these social audio posts, which at the time they didn't have it like they do now, where you can? And can I walk around my neighborhood so that I can personally get movement into my life? And will other women entrepreneurs want to join me where they walk wherever they're at? I could have been walking all 30 days all by myself, but it turned out there were women entrepreneurs who wanted to join me for a walk. And the very first interview I did on Twitter Spaces was with someone who lived in Albania, and she was walking in a park in Albania, and I was walking in the neighborhood in my city in San Antonio, Texas, and I could hear the birds in Albania and she could hear the birds in San Antonio as we talked about her business goals and challenges. And then I recorded a little 10-15 minute podcast interview, and voila, that was the beginning of the Walk Talk Challenge. And as we were coming forward to this time, I'm also telling myself, gee, I haven't had a whole heck of a lot of movement. It would be nice to get moving again. Why don't I bring back the Walk Talk Challenge for April? But this time, because my hyper focus over the last year has shifted to Web3 and blockchain, I should kind of add in a unique focus of really wanting to also speak with the Web3 women. And I'm on 4 blockchains, and I posted it to the 4 blockchains, and I posted it here to Twitter because I still want to speak to my women entrepreneurs. And we'll see. Will anyone join us? I think Ruth is going to join me.
Yes, I signed up.
I invite all the women to women entrepreneurs, whether you're in Web3 or not, to sign up and let's have a 30-minute walk and talk chat.
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing how it goes for you. Tonya, are you going to be joining?
I can't. I try to be committed, but I can't promise. I'm really bad about that. Morning time is. I have 3, my 4 dogs. 4 dogs. I feed. I have to cook food for. So my morning, I have chores. I feel like I live on a farm. So and again, I don't know. I might just pop in on some of them, but I can't accept a challenge. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I've learned that's a new thing I discovered. Don't make promises that you can't make. So don't start making just. I'll show up. I promise I'll show up in some of them, but I can't do all of them.
That's awesome.
No worries, Tonya. Nothing like putting you on the spot. Is there?
No, I'm good.
Do you have any new projects you're working on in April, Tonya?
I'm right now in the process coming up with my educational in-person events. So we're trying to incorporate the hybrid aspect of it. So I'm just that's what we're working on. So tomorrow I have my lunch meeting, and we're gonna start go. I get to go have lunch at different restaurants just to see who's going to work with us. This is the next set is checking out the location. I have my church for the education aspect, but we like to do a luncheon or like cocktail time once a month where we honor someone that's doing an incredible job in our community. So we're gonna bring that back, and I'm hoping to come back to Boca Resort, but we're looking for an outside location this time around, so we probably won't. But that's my project. That's in April. It's just I'm going back to the stuff that I used to do. I mean, at one time before the pandemic, I was planning to start throwing. I do stuff not because how much money I'm going to make. I don't even think of it. This is horrible. I don't even think about how much money I'm going to make. I just do it because I want to. So I'm kind of like obsessed with music, but the number one thing is that silent disco. So I ordered. It's on hold right now, but 50 headphones for silent disco. My friend has an art gallery, so we're planning to do that. That's April is when we're planning some dates, so I can practice my spinning music. Besides doing it on Twitter Spaces, doing my NFT music concert in May, the last Friday of May. I want to start. Again, I'm enjoying. I don't know if anyone know this. I used to throw raves in the '90s, so kind of like I'm back. I'm like enjoying this stuff. I don't even like think about it. I'm like, I did it when I was 25 or 26. I had a baby and all this stuff, and now I'm like in my 55. My kid is like full grown man, and I'm like getting into music again and production, and it's not about like how much dollars I get out of it. It's just what's the journey? How much fun am I having? So that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna do a silent disco, do an NFT music concert, continue publishing, and I'm just gonna collect a lot of stories about different artists that I come along the way, and that should keep me busy and motivated and inspired.
Sounds like you're keeping busy and having fun, which is great. Stephen, are you ready to jump into the conversation? We've been talking about a variety of things. We've talked about the future of spaces. We've talked about blockchain and Web3. We've talked about what business people should focus on when they're first starting into getting onto Twitter and Google Business and other things. So there's a variety of things that we've talked about. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I can hop in kind of sort of on all of them. So for Twitter on its own, I just got the super follows. So I reached out to Hustling this morning and asked him if he had any ideas. I didn't know if Twitter has any programs to develop that to monetize Twitter. I know he's the king of monetizing Twitter right now. The blockchain, because of the recent fraud, I can't think of the $2 billion sweep that just went through.
You're talking about
Guys like
Axie Infinity?
Yes. Yeah, and so the lady that actually introduced me to NFTs, she and I think Brian Fanzo were both pelted by this thing, whatever it is security infringement, fraud,
With the
whatever.
MetaMask wallet.
So well, we know that that's the port of entry. What we can't figure out, or what I can't figure out, somebody probably knows, is where to from there. And that's the nature of the blockchain, is being unable to trace transactions. So the great thing about your autonomy as a human being using the Web3 is also the greatest asset to the the players of ill repute. So looking at security, bumped into the lady that hacked Clubhouse a while back, and she was ghosting all the rooms, and she had complete control of the microphones, and nobody could mute her, and they couldn't even see her in the room. And she had a little fun with that. Her story was great. She did the right thing, and she submitted her flaw to Clubhouse because she said she wanted them to succeed. So she went ahead, and I guess that's her thing. And I don't remember her name either, but I'll find it if anybody's in that space. Yeah, and Tonya had mentioned industries that can't use Twitter. So diagnosis, because of the HIPAA laws for medical professionals, you really can't. You can't really. A medical professional can't really offer or take in any medical information over Twitter, and it's a bizarre thing. I don't know how they enforce it. I would imagine it's on the doctor side, but a doctor tweeting medical advice to a patient is you can't say it's illegal, but it's not allowed. They can pull his license. And in the finance space, it can be because of various delays, various time zones. It can be considered inside trading for uh, Series 7 professionals. So there's a lot of little nuances that I'm of the mindset that it's better to apologize than ask for permission. But with the fiduciary incentives collapsing on the bad guys, it's now become better to secure your intellectual property, take responsibility for your actions ahead of time, know what you're going to say, kind of sort of plan it out, and keep your risk management right in front of you. There's so much that's changing, and so much that I'm more sensitive to now. Quite possibly because I'm no longer drinking. That might have a lot to do with the conscious. But yeah, I mean, for the artists, it's a great space right now because the Web3 designers are all looking to humanize the Web3 metaverse, and nobody can make an environment more human than the artists that dwell among us right now. And right now is a great time to be an artist and to be creating online. I would say there's never been a time in history where artists had the same revenue opportunity that they have right now. And I think I've more than burned up any valuable time I may have had in your nice space. And I thank you so much for letting me in here.
Thanks, Stephen. Tonya, you have something to add? Tonya, are you able to unmute? We've been having some technical issues in this space today, so not sure if Tonya is able to use her mic or not. There you go.
Yeah, I got it. I wanted to share, like, I host a tutor space with a oncologist doctor every Wednesday. He doesn't give advice. We talk about different things, services, or, what things that he experienced. He doesn't like, and he said, and he always tells them, make sure you talk to your doctor. He always has that. He can't give any type of advice of any kind because, again, it's all HIPAA and he's not here looking for new patients. He's just utilizing Twitter spaces and getting his brand on, talking about what he does so people can understand more. Because, what he does in his practice is very niche and very different. And he still has his cancer center also. He had at one time 6 or 8 of them. He only has 2 right now, but he also has a functional integrated medicine practice. So he doesn't really go on give any type of medical advice. People can come up and ask questions, but the way he says it, it's more of, he tells them straight up, you need to talk to your doctor, but this is what I do in my practice. He's just talking about himself. And as far as financial stuff, I used to do a finance show, so we don't talk about any new things or anything. And my financial analyst, he worked for, I'm trying to remember he was a friend of mine. So he worked for one of those large funding house in New York, and he moved down here. And we would have to be really careful what we say or talked about. But, I remember reporting on Bitcoin in 2012, and he just didn't believe in it. He thought it was just stupid. And and stuff. And we weren't trying to tell people to go out and buy. We never got in trouble. And he looked at it and he showed it to his people to make sure that he's on compliance. And as long as you're not telling people any new information or anything, he gave his opinion on certain things that has nothing to do with any of his clients. But the things we talked about was really mostly social media. So today I noticed a lot of people do house spaces about Bitcoin, and they always make this disclaimer that this is not financial information or trying to help people in that sense. That people should do their own research. But Twitter Spaces is more of hearing someone's personal story, their journey. I'm not saying people go on here and start giving your inside secret of everything you do in life. I'm just saying that, small businesses, doctors, any type of business, just even hosting one Twitter Space a month really helps a person share some of their accomplishment for the month, or things that they had a hard time with, or some incident that they want to let people know that they're dealing with. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying Twitter Spaces is good for too, for small businesses to do.
I like your insights, Tonya. I like your insights in this perspective, especially when you said about small businesses and Twitter Spaces and all these things. I have a question for you. Do you think today is enough to know 2 or 3 skills, or should we learn multiple skills to deal with it? Or
I think, I mean, you have to, don't you? I mean, don't you have to? I think women, especially now and today with digital media. I mean, if you were around during MySpace era, I think a lot of people learned how to do HTML through MySpace and being able to make their websites and understand how things are done. And, those were the early day of Web 2. So nowadays, you have to learn different things. I mean, I tell my clients, you got to understand a little bit about the digital aspect of content creation, how people are doing it. I'm not saying for you to go do it yourself, but you should learn to be able to do a little bit about your business. So you have to learn different skills. And a lot of us already, depending on how old you are, I mean, I'm like, my skills, I can be a makeup artist. I sell fragrance. I'm an order taker. I was also I sold first aid and safety, uniforms. I've done it all. So we all have different skills, different things. But again, we just got to figure out what we really want to do and enjoy doing it and make money out of it. And that's the key with a lot of people. They want to have that, but they don't want to put the work in it. So, I mean, everything I'm doing right today, it didn't happen overnight. I remember sitting in the middle of the night, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to publish a press release and have it set out on a timer at 7:30 in a.m. in California to be able for the media to pick it up. No, it didn't go out. So, and I would learn. I mean, I self-taught myself how to publish. So, these are different skills that I do that I don't talk about, but I know if I needed to go out and get a job and learn something and say list what you can do, I can do a lot. I can list a lot. And you have to be able to be competitive in your field. I mean, people are going to do business with people who they feel comfortable that can carry out different projects and wear different hats. Does not mean that I'm going to complete the whole project. I have a whole team that does it for me. But I understand each process so that then this way, if anything happens or I have to explain to the client, I can tell them, well, this is how it's done. This person does this and that person does that. And it shows value as a team. And my team gets paid weekly because I require a retainer. I require different things so that I want to make sure the people I work with are taken care of. So, because I don't want to be sitting here. And most of the time, I barely make that much money. I've spent all my money on building my rapport, building my team, and their success is my success. So I used to have my team go get to, I tell them, I say, go learn this, go learn that, learn about Google Ads. Because, you might not stay with me, but this can help you feed your family. So again, it's really what the person wanted to do, how they want to use their business, their niche, and you have to be diversified and you have to learn how to multi-skills. And as we all know, in this pandemic, when we were shut down the first year, we all didn't know what's going to happen next. We had to learn. I think a lot of us in here were never even a space host. I don't think a lot of us even really talked on a microphone before. And now everyone's, doing great. They're creating a marketplace, doing great things together. So I hope that answered your question. But yeah, you have to be multi-skilled to be able to survive in this environment.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And in your opinion, Tonya, what do you think? How many hours will be enough for a person to learn daily?
You can learn everything you do daily. I mean, again, I'm not saying how many hours. You can't put, you know, educating and spending time learning about or creating something. You can't put hour. You can't clock yourself unless you want to pay yourself as a client. You can't really do that. I wake up every day. I read what's trending. You know, I share it with my friends. I always know what my friends are into. I share the content with them. Besides curating it on my platform to share it out for my followers and friends, I share it out to my personal friends. You know, like I sit in a space and if the space is wonderful, I share it to my friend. I said, just you don't need an app. Just listen to what they're saying. I mean, like those are the things I feel people, small businesses, entrepreneur, when starting out, you need to get your friends to be your cheerleaders. There's a, I mean, if you don't have cheerleaders, people, your community to help carry you, be your cheerleader, you're not going to succeed. And to do that, you have to get your friends to be involved in what you're doing and share with them. I'm telling you, I literally got all my friends in social media back in 2008. So, and they all have gone on to do great things. And today I'm excited about bringing them onto the blockchain. And you know what? I never really thought about the blockchain, to be honest with you. I learned about it. I know people are into it. I kind of found it boring. And then I sat in Jennifer's space. Right here, Jennifer. It's all Jennifer's fault. It all leads back to Jennifer, by the way. I always just laugh about it. It always leads back to her. Because now I was like, oh my God, you know so much about the blockchain, the way you describe it. I'm like, I just listened to Jennifer and I Google everything and I follow everything she's saying. It's so true. And it does work and it's right. I tell everybody about voice.com because of Jennifer. I wouldn't ever know about that. So again, you know, to build a community, you have to be able to bring your friends and family into your community at the same time and also be able to like empower the people who are starting in. I mean, communities is not like you can't have like everyone's a leader when needed to be, but we all got to start somewhere.
That is so powerful because the reality is we can start the community, but we need folks to be part of that. And as the leader of a community, it's having that discernment and that understanding of lifting others and when it's time for you to lead the charge and when it's time for you to encourage the community to help lead the charge. And sometimes you don't even have to encourage them. They'll defend you, they'll go out and find things for you because they are believers in this mission that you have. So building community is always about the greater good or the bigger picture. And a lot of times in my own experience, it's always a surprise on some of the things because I think I know what this community is about or a community is about. And I'm the one who started it and I think it's this thing, but then the people who become part of it, they inform and they educate and they build and they grow it in such amazing and surprising ways that I'm like, wow, I could never have predicted that. Even in my wildest dreams, I would never have thought that. But the people who are part of your community give it life.
I love that, Jennifer. People who are part of your community give it life. And I want to thank each of you for giving life to this community. Hadija, you had something you were going to add?
No, I think here is Hassan, and I think he has something to share. Do you want to share something, Hassan, with us? Please request the mic if you have. Okay, we're gonna continue. Okay, guys, if you want to share something or if you have anything to add, please request the mic. And we are going to let you jump in and speak.
Hi, everyone. Good morning from UAE. I just have small story. Just I will take from you guys like 3-4 minutes, if you don't mind. First of all, I would like to thank you, Ruth. I came here a lot of time with other accounts. Your space, it's just wow factor. Thank you for your space. And Khadija, thank you because you brought me here, actually. I was following you. My name is Hassan. I didn't even finish my 7th grade. And because of spaces and Twitter, I am a founder and CEO of Dynamic Facility Management and Consultancy. Actually, my business now, it's B2B or B2G governments. I'm shocked, really, why people never ever try to take advantage of spaces. I just opened a small community in spaces like November last year. It was called, maybe Khadija will know the name. It's Dukkan Ghulum. It's mean Ghulum supermarket, my grandpa. So it's an old name. Over there, we were supporting each others, like into small businesses, home businesses. We tried to build a community where everyone will support others, not financially, no, by giving them, empowering them with services which we provide for free. And that actually made Hassan today. The last contract I had, it's with MTech Nanotechnology. They were the responsible of Japan Tomorrow in Expo, Dubai. And I am now exclusive, marketing, branding. Can you imagine bringing out from Japan to UAE and build 3 factories and export products from Japan, from UAE to the world? That's changed a lot of things over here. And not only that, thank God I had the chance to add in that contract supporting inventors and inventions, and it will be under my department. They need to pay only the company Intech. Plus, I will be the bridge for all entrepreneurs from here to Japan and Japan to here for free. I got a lot of media, a lot of things happened last 2 weeks. I don't know how I got that contract, actually, seriously. But spaces are a gold mine. I know, Ruth. It's just I'm still in shock, actually. And if you will read the announcement, I shared it with Khadija. If you will read the company announcement, I don't know. I start to do A to Z, like what Tonya said. Literally, I have an order from an African nation for 16,000 ton of chicken a month for 2-year contract. Chicken. So, thank you guys. This is my first time speaking in spaces by English, so pardon me. I'm still 6th grade, 7th, not finished as well, so I'm sorry. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Khadija.
Thank you, Hassan. And well done. You have conquered a lot of things that other people would just throw up their hands and say this is impossible. So good for you. And I love how you are using Twitter Spaces to grow your company. Tonya, do you have some encouragement for Hassan?
No, I think, hearing his story and his success, it takes grit, right? And like anything we do, we're all in here. We're all trying to learn different things and try to implement it as we grow our company, our brand, and anything that we are passionate about. And hearing him tell his success and where he came from and here he is today. Where you come from does not dictate where you're going to go, right? I always believe that. And yeah, you should. So proud of you. My gosh, bravo, bravo, bravo. And continue doing it, and please invite me into your spaces. And again, like I said, that's what I love about Twitter Spaces. I mean, what's the chance of all of us sitting in the spaces, sharing our stories and sharing our success and sharing our really sad ones too. So again, I think he's doing great. He's one person like he hustled. It's the numbers game. You know, he's hustling, he's working the system, and he knows how to do it. And that's the key of any success. Is like, and he showed up. He showed up to a space. He learned. He met people. He got educated. He went out. He pitched. He got what he wanted. He got orders for everything he's doing today. So, you know, I don't know. There's nothing I can give him any more advice. I just am loving his story.
And I just want to say congratulations to you, Hassan, and you are doing amazing and good job. Well done. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
Thank you guys for all the your words. And Tanya, I forgot to say one thing. In these 3 years, I have lost 19 people in my family. So, but I have channeled that grief and that sadness to something changed my life literally. I always like to say, I don't know how to say it by English. Maybe Khadija will support me. من المهدي إلى اللحد. Like you will learn. Yes, Khadija, please.
Yeah. You will learn from your childhood till adult and till you die. So
Yes. So in these 3 years, I finished around 364 book, literally, and I'm starting my new one now. I built myself proudly, learned 4 languages, and grief is something real, but we need to know how to manage it, how to channel it. You will be sad, yes, but the loss in your life, those guys who's gone, they will love to see you success, and they are next to me, happy when I'm talking right now. This is my beliefs. So actually, I'm very proud of who I am, and I'm proud of all of you guys because you supported Hassan as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Hassan. You have brightened this community for sure. I thought I had seen someone else coming up to speak, but I see that they are gone. So I don't know. We have had some tech issues today, unfortunately. Is there anyone else that would like to ask a question, contribute to the conversation in any way? If not, we can end the space, but I just want to make sure we don't miss anyone that wanted to contribute.
Do you think like Twitter Spaces? I'm gonna leave everyone something to think about. You know, crowdfunding is such a huge thing nowadays. I remember when it first started, and and then crowdsourcing. To get the message out together. But could we not use Twitter Spaces to help someone raise funds for themselves for like medical costs or from different things? Create a whole campaign and utilize Twitter Spaces as their way of sharing. I mean, my one girlfriend just passed away. We're getting ready to do a celebration of life, and I'm thinking about saying, "Hey, why can't I not do a Twitter Spaces?" And even if I stream it or I record it, but it's also an opportunity for people to be part of a conversation, but also donate for her, because someone created her sister did actually create something for her daughters because they're young kids. So Twitter Spaces, besides just creating something for your business, I feel that also can do something to help people in other ways. So I hope this just think a little bit about that. If you have any other thoughts about it, please DM me. But I feel like crowdsourcing. Whenever we crowdsource or crowdfund using Twitter Spaces.
Am I rude? Tanya, can I comment on that?
Yes, please. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I had to
Amanda,
stop
you
by
keep
when I saw
changing your
you. Well,
hey girl.
featuring Tonya, this is the girl to have in your space. She's on the know of everything. And guys, hi. Yes, I'm Amanda, and I love building communities from all kinds of places. Especially, I saw somebody else can speak 4 languages. I speak a lot of languages, and that includes love. So for sure, I'm just here to give a small little note on Tanya's suggestion on how to help your community in different ways and use these Twitter spaces for a lot more, and especially to educate about the blockchain. If we were to use the blockchain, which has the in many different ways a lot more freedom to be used globally, we could really extend this kind of help within your community, and make it more of a global issue, and us standing as one instead of just using different currencies, so if I just encourage you guys to do your research on what cryptocurrency is, which is digital currency, and the way the world is going and the economy. A lot of it, these, federal banks and Switch and all these other things that are powering the money system one day will collapse, guys. And we need to continue on as a global community, because we're going to continue helping each other and trade with each other to help whatever we need to help fortify, and the governance out of the way and stuff like that will give us the voice, and the blockchain is the opportunity to make that into action, because it gets recorded, there's no money laundering, and it's you you need to know how to onboard it safely, and just know that to know if in your country you can use it as well. But there's so many uses for that you can use for your trading. So blockchain will build more global communities. And that's what I wanted to go back to the topic and also add to Tanya. So I'm Amanda. I can say it in Spanish. Let me know on my DMs if you need help.
Thank you, Amanda. You rock. I freaking love you.
That was a great message, because it's true. The token or the currency is the same for me here in Texas as it is for Ruth in Australia, as it is for somebody in Nigeria, as it is for somebody in the UAE. That price, whatever cryptocurrency or token that you're using, it doesn't change because you're in a different country, unlike traditional currency. So I'm a big believer in that too. So yay, go you, Amanda.
You got my follow.
Follow me back.
All right, great discussion here, guys. Thank you. Tonya, any last wrap up comments before I pass the mic back to you? I just want everyone to know there is a bit of a change coming next week. So when you want to join the space next week, we will actually be starting about this time, 8 p.m. Eastern, because of the time change. And I am in Canada, not Australia. Keith will be back from his holiday, Keith Keller, and it just works better for all of us. And Hadija, there's really no time that's good for her, because it's early in the morning for her. I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to pass it over to Tonya.
Well, I am really excited. Thank you so much for thinking of me. And it is isn't it the last day of International Women's Month? I feel like I'm so blessed to be in part of this community and meeting some incredible women and men. And I look forward for all of to see where we all are here, especially when the summertime comes. I mean, it's like we're going into April. Can you imagine this is in 4 months? Already, and we'll be going into summertime. For me, it's gonna be slower, but I feel like the connection I've built on here. This is my Twitterverse. I tell people welcome to my Twitterverse, but because this isn't my Twitterverse. So again, if you have any story that you'd love to get published, I've been publishing stuff for people. You're doing me a favor too, also, because it keeps me sharp on my craft, and also it keeps my press room nice and fresh because I get to publish different things. Depending on the project, I don't charge people for it. If they write it all out, I'll do it. But if I have to pay for it, depending how I put it through the wire, I'll let you know. But I just publish things because I feel like, if I can offer to help someone in my community, they in turn can help someone else in the community. It's all going to come back to me in the long term, because I feel like if I focus on how I can help someone else become successful, and if we create that type of environment, because kindness is very inexpensive. It takes a second. And if we can practice that kindness, and Ruth, I really appreciate for being here. And Jennifer, you know how I feel about you. I freaking love Jennifer. But you know who has the mic now is Bunsen and Beaker. Oh my gosh. Hey, how are you? Jason? How are you?
I think he can't speak right now.
They call it in NFT, are we being rugged? But that's my
Okay,
final thought, everybody. I appreciate everyone for being here. I appreciate everyone for the incredible questions. But again, to build a community, just show up.
All right, Jason, one more chance. I don't know if you have mic access or not. We'd love to hear from you if you have the opportunity to speak. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you to Hadija for jumping in with me. She actually started off the show today because I had a last-minute change to my schedule. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for being willing to co-host with us today and for adding to the discussion. Thank you, Tonya, for being our featured guest and for sharing your wisdom with us. And I believe that Jason now has mic access, so we're going to pass it on to him.
I don't know how good my connection is. I'm sorry. That's why I didn't want to jump up. I'm walking the dogs through the wilderness right now.
We can hear you fine.
Okay. I've been enjoying the space. If I had the opportunity to speak a while back, I would love to see technology advance. You guys were talking about the metaverse probably an hour ago. And if we can ever get Ready Player One level stuff for video games, all of the video gamers would be the greatest shape of anybody on the planet. So that's all I wanted to say. It's kind of a joke. I think about the games I played, like Skyrim, where you're just walking around with swords. So just think of all the walking video gamers would have to do in real life if they had that treadmill.
Thanks for adding a lighter side to us, to the space today, Jason. And I hope you enjoy your walk with your dogs. All right, so we are going to end the space. Next week, we will be having Brittany Reese join us as our featured guest. Join us at 8 p.m. Eastern. And Hadija, you have something you want to say before we end?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, thank Tonya. Thank you, Tonya, for being here with us. And you are so authentic person. I like this because I can feel your authenticity. So yeah, I like that. And thank you everyone for sticking with us till the end and for spending your valuable time with us. Thank you so much for contributing. Thank you so much for jumping in and talk and for being here in general. Thank you guys. And we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome week. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Bye, y'all.